Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you are new here. I'm Andrea M and this is Real Crime Down Under, and we're doing another special one this week with our Bushranger series. And you guessed it, this week it's Captain Thunderbolt. So if you're into history, bushrangers, real crime, missing people, X-Files type stories, unsolved mysteries, disasters, and all of that other great paranormal stuff, then you've come to the right channel, because that's mainly all that I do here. So if all this sounds really good to you and it's the kind of thing that you just love some spooky stuff and some mystery stuff, then please consider subscribing to the channel. It would help me out a ton. And also, if you could like, share, and hit that subscribe button, as I just said, it helps me out in the YouTube algorithm. It also helps me get this channel to our 1,000 subscribers that we need to join the partnership program. And once we join the partnership program, that means an income, that means better videos that I can produce for you guys. So if you'd love to help me out with that, I'd be super appreciative of that. And that would be just absolutely wonderful, and I'd love to have you back. So without further ado, let's get into this week's Bushranger, Captain Thunderbolt. Let's start at the beginning. So Frederick Wordsworth Ward was born in 1835, but as we all know, he was better known by the self-styled pseudonym of Captain Thunderbolt. And he was a bushranger renowned for escaping the Cockatoo Island penal settlement, and also known for his reputation as a gentleman bushranger and his lengthy survival, being the longest roaming bushranger in Australian history. So that's a pretty impressive dossier right there for Captain Thunderbolt. And I mean, that name that he made for himself, Captain Thunderbolt's just so cool. I love it. And he named himself Captain Thunderbolt after being shot in 1870, or so the legend goes. So in the early years of his life, he was born the son of convict Michael Ward, indefatigable, 1815, and his wife Sophia, and was born, as we said, in 1835, the youngest of around 10 children. And around this time his parents moved from Wilberforce, New South Wales, to nearby Windsor. Ward entered the paid workforce at a very early age and was employed at the age of 11 by the owners of the Aberboldy station near Walker, and that was also in New South Wales. And his position was as a generally useful hand, although he only remained with them for a short time. He would go on to work at many stations in northern New South Wales over the next 10 years, including the famed horse stud at Tokal, and his horsemanship skills soon became evident. Buck-breaking became one of his most important duties. While not much is known about Michael and Sophia's early married life, we do know they had 10 children. William, also known as Harry, Sophia Jane, Sarah Ann, Amelia, also known as Emily, Edward B, Joshua George E, Esther P, Selena, Maria, and Captain Thunderbolt. In 1856, Ward's nephew John Garbutt became the ringleader of a large horse and cattle stealing operation, and enticed other members of the extended Ward family to join him. What a nice thing to do. Come and steal cattle and horses with me, it's fun. Fred Ward helped drive some of the 4 dozen of the stolen horses from the Lambs Valley property of his brother William to Windsor, where they were sold at auction. Ward and his nephews John and James Garbutt were all convicted. The Garbutts of horse stealing, and the Wards of receiving stolen horses and knowing them to be stolen. They each received a sentence of 10 years with hard labour and were sent to the Cockatoo Island penal establishment. Released on tickets of leave after serving 4 years, Ward and his nephews settled in the Mudgee district, where John Garbutt met and married a wealthy widow, Elizabeth Blackman, owner of the Cooyal Inn and Station. They employed Fred to work for them at Cooyal. There Fred met Marianne Bugg, who was then living with ex-convict James McNally and her children at their Cooyal farm. Mary Ann fell pregnant with Fred's child a short time later. In breach of ticket of leave regulations, Ward left the Mudgee district to take Mary Ann back to her father's farm at Monkerai near Dungog for the baby's delivery. He returned late for his 3-monthly muster, and consequently the authorities revoked his ticket of leave, which is kind of sad because he was trying to do the right thing by this lady that he had gotten pregnant and was having a child with. Ward then compounded the problem by arriving in Mudgee on a stolen horse, although the owner admitted at Ward's trial that the horse had simply gone missing from his property and that he had heard that it had been seen near Kooyul, but that he had not attempted to retrieve it. So when you think about that, it's very similar to the story that we heard in last week's Bushrangers edition with Ned Kelly, who was simply trying to return somebody's stolen horse and instead was charged with horse stealing. So it seems like that went on a lot back then, as far as the history that I have been reading has told me. After that, Ward was sent back to Cockatoo Island to serve the remaining 6 years of his original sentence, plus an additional 3 years for being in possession of a stolen horse. Kind of unfair considering that it wasn't actually proven that the horse was stolen. He could have been doing just like Ned and bringing it back. Now we come to the exciting part in the story, his escape from Cockatoo Island. So on the 11th of September 1863, Ward and a companion, Frederick Britton, slipped away from their Cockatoo Island work gang and hid for 2 days before swimming from the north side of the island, almost certainly to Woolwich. While most books about Captain Thunderbolt claim that Mary Ann Bugg actually assisted Ward in his escape, others claim she in fact remained working in Dungog throughout Ward's second term on Cockatoo Island and did not see him again until after his escape. So if you guys want to look into that further, there's plenty of books out there on Captain Thunderbolt, but it seems to be that the history does differ a little bit. So now we move on to what happened subsequent to his escape, which was his bushranging years. And I have just a small thing to add here. Now, my beautiful, gorgeous grandmother she's passed away. She's been gone for many a year now. But when I was talking to my mum about doing the Bushrangers series and we were talking about Captain Thunderbolt, well, Captain Thunderbolt, according to Nana's stories, so if this isn't right, please don't come for me, this is what she told us, was that when he was a young man, her father used to be like, I think the easiest way to describe what he was doing was it was like a courier service. And they'd take a wagon up through places like Dalmorton, where you saw us on our paranormal video, and Ramornie, places up through there, up through Inverell and into New England. Well, Captain Thunderbolt was said to be around New England at some time. I'm not exactly sure how old my great-great-great-grandfather was when this was supposed to have happened, but Nana reckons that on one of the trips, I'd say it would have been when he was quite young though, because just considering the dates that come up with Captain Thunderbolt, she says that, or as she told us, that they were actually on one of their journeys up through New England, and they were actually held up by Captain Thunderbolt. So I'm not sure if it's true, so don't come for me. We may be remembering it wrong, like Mum was telling me about it, and I'm sure I remember Nan telling me that Popper got held up by Captain Thunderbolt. But as she's not here anymore, I cannot corroborate that story, but if it's true, it's pretty cool. So good on you, Nan, and good on your great-great-great-grandfather. I can only hope that it's true. So Captain Thunderbolt and Britton headed to the New England district, where they robbed a shepherd's hut near Gostick, near Uralla, on the 24th of October. 3 days later, while they were waiting to ambush the male near the Big Rock, or Split Rock, now known as Captain Thunderbolt's Rock, they were spotted by the troopers. In the ensuing gunfight, Ward was shot in the back of the left knee, an injury that left a critical identifying mark that helped to identify his body after his death. The pair separated a few weeks later. Ward gained the nickname Thunderbolt during the Rutherford toll bar robbery on the 21st of December, when the toll bar keeper told the police that the door burst open like the sound of a thunderbolt. The newspaper, the Maitland Mercury, reported this and the name stuck. And what a cool name. I love it. Captain Thunderbolt. It's awesome. Nobody knew the identity of the hold-up man at that time. So over the following 6.5 years, Ward, or Captain Thunderbolt, robbed mailmen, travellers, inns, stores and stations across much of northern New South Wales, from the Hunter region north to Queensland and from Tamworth nearly as far west as Bourke. So, yeah, I guess it is pretty plausible that the granddad, 3 times removed, may have run afoul of Captain Thunderbolt, but obviously Captain Thunderbolt didn't hurt him, or I wouldn't be here. I just think it's such a cool story. I wish my grandmother was still alive, though. I would totally drag her on camera and get her to tell the story, and she'd love every minute of it. And you guys would have loved her. She was amazing. So he was accompanied by 3 other men early in 1865 when he went on a crime spree in the northwestern plains. But the gang disbanded after young John Thompson was shot and captured at Millie near Moree, and these places are not far from Grafton. Later that same year, he joined forces with another 2 felons, but his second gang disbanded soon after one of them, Jeremy the Whisperer, shot a policeman. There is no evidence Fred Ward actually ever shot at anyone during his bushranging career. He was known to show his guns rather than brandish them or discharge them. Instead, he relied on superior horse flesh to make good his getaway. He is credited with having stolen or commandeered, now this is an impressive list, over 40 thoroughbred racehorses in his time on the road. Thereafter, Ward employed only young, malleable accomplices. And they were Thomas Mason in 1867 and William Monckton in 1868. After Monckton left him, Ward remained largely in seclusion, surfacing only a handful of times in the next 18 months to commit the robberies. So that's probably why he had such longevity and why he was our longest bushranger, because he was laying low and, kind of taking his time with things and being careful. So to me, I think he was probably quite the ingenious bushranger. And that's why I kind of get a bit caught up with Captain Thunderbolt. I mean, Ned Kelly is always going to be like the biggest favourite. And that's also because of Nan. If you watched the last video, she sat me down in the rocking chair and told me all about Ned Kelly. And then I just had to learn more about him. And and then of course, Nan again with these stories about Captain Thunderbolt. And I always thought he was really cool too. So he's definitely a very close second behind our beloved Ned. So the unfortunate death of Captain Thunderbolt. On the 25th of May 1870, after allegedly robbing travellers near the Big Rock, Ward was shot and killed by Constable Alexander Binney Walker at Kentucky Creek near Uralla. His capture and death followed a difficult pursuit of several miles through rough terrain. The bushranger had spent his last few hours in and about the Royal Oak Inn, close by Split Rock at Church Gully. There is much to support a contention that his judgment at the time may have been impaired by alcohol. Publican John Blanche served the outlaws' last drinks at gunpoint. Thunderbolt ignored Eliza Blanche's warning to get away. The traps were in sight. And that's a real shame. Maybe he would have survived if he'd heeded the warning. Ward's body was identified at a magisterial inquiry the next day by the gunshot wound on the back of his left knee, as well as by his height, hair, and eye colouring. And he was also identified by moles and warts noted in the Police Gazette reward notice in the aftermath of his escape from Cockatoo Island. But I have to say, like, just on the escape from Cockatoo Island, like, that's amazing that he escaped from there and he never got caught for it. Like, okay, eventually he was shot and unfortunately subsequently died. But not to condone criminal behaviour, but it's Captain Thunderbolt, come on. And he got out of Cockatoo Island and he never went back. So, well, it's a bit naughty, I'll admit. It's also kind of impressive. But as I said, I do have a thing for bushrangers, and this guy's pretty cool. Additionally, 3 witnesses testified under oath that they could personally identify the body as that of Fred Ward. His former accomplice, William Monckton, a fellow Mudgee employee named George William Pearson, and Senior Sergeant John... I'm sorry. Oh, the names of these people back then. Oh, dear. Okay, I'm just going to say it. This is his name, I promise. Look it up on Wikipedia. This was the guy's name. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking this is funny, but I do. And Senior Sergeant... I don't know why I find this so funny. John George Balls, who had worked on Cockatoo Island during Ward's incarceration there. Okay, I said it. That was his name, I promise. Hundreds flocked to see the body, and a large sum was raised by the local community as a gesture of appreciation for Constable Walker. Walker, along with several others, was eventually awarded a silver medal for bravery. But I'm kind of wondering, why would he be given a silver medal for bravery if Captain Thunderbolt never drew a gun? Why was Captain Thunderbolt shot at all? It seems to me like the constable shot an unarmed man, or a man that was not actually brandishing a gun at him. So, yeah, kind of not on the side of the police here. I'm suspecting a little bit of corruption going on there, as there always is. That's just my opinion. That's just my speculation. It just seems strange that he's awarded a silver medal for bravery for shooting somebody that wasn't brandishing a gun. Maybe. So there has been a lot of speculation surrounding Captain Thunderbolt's death, and it has been speculated that Captain Thunderbolt didn't die at Kentucky Creek on the 25th of May 1870, with some people believing another man died instead. In March 2010, the New South Wales Legislative Council went so far as to demand the release of archival records relating to Captain Thunderbolt's death. A motion introduced by National's Upper House Whip Rick Collis. These alternative theories surrounding Ward's death, however, are believed to lack credibility, with the 2010 Parliamentary Standing Order described as frivolous by some historians. But there is a light of hope. Remember Marianne Bugg? She was pregnant with Captain Thunderbolt's child, and she had a little boy named Frederick Wadsworth Ward Jr. So his relationship with Marianne Bugg had ended late in 1867. So he was perhaps unaware that Marianne Bugg gave birth to his namesake in August of 1868. Frederick Wadsworth Ward Jr. took the surname of his stepfather, although by occupation he walked in the shoes of his birth father. And no, he didn't become a bushranger. He became a groom and later horse trainer and died unmarried as Frederick Wadsworth Burroughs in 1937. But not to worry, if you want to see Captain Thunderbolt, you can still see Captain Thunderbolt. And I am hoping to actually arrange a road trip with my dear friends and team from Clarence Valley Paranormal to go and have a look at all the sites that relate to Captain Thunderbolt because they're really not that far away. And I would just absolutely love to go and see that. And yeah, we're going to try and make it happen, I think, because I think that'd be really cool and I think it'd be a really fun video. So, if you want to see him, there is a statue of Captain Thunderbolt at the intersection of New England Highway. And this is the coolest road in Australia, Thunderbolt's Way, Uralla, New South Wales. The legend of Thunderbolt is exhibited at Macrosson's Mill Museum in Uralla and includes the series of 9 paintings by Philip Pomeroy of the events that led to Fred Ward's death. And this next part I really love, and I so want to go and travel this road, and I want to do it in autumn when all the leaves are turning and it's spooky and it's getting cool and it's, yeah. So that might be something for next year, but this is definitely on the list. So please everybody stay tuned. I really want to go do this. So Thunderbolt's Way is a road that extends from Gloucester to Inverell, following much of his original route between the Hunter Valley and the northwest slopes and plains. Thunderbolt's Trail is a 4-wheel drive fire trail located in the Barrington Tops State Forest, which follows part of his original route. And yeah, we'd have to do it like late summer or early autumn because it snows in the Barrington Tops. I mean, I'd love to see snow, but I'm a sook and I get cold really easily, so probably not for the snow, but definitely for the beautiful autumn leaves and just that beautiful crisp autumn air that you get in the mountains. I think it'd just be so amazing and I would love to do that trip. A bullet hole in the wall of the Moon and Flat pub, made by the bushranger during a hold-up, was on display near Scone, but unfortunately has been painted over. There have been many cultural depictions of Captain Thunderbolt throughout the years. We have Tom Roberts' painting, and it's called In a Corner on the McIntyre, and it was done in 1895, and it's on display in the National Gallery of Australia, and it shows Thunderbolt in a shootout with the police. Thunderbolt's story has been dramatised several times since then, and if I can find a picture of the painting, I'll pop it in here. Ambrose Pratt in 1905 edited William Monckton's 3 Years with Thunderbolt, which he and A.S. Joseph turned into a melodrama, Thunderbolt, performed for the first time on the 14th of October 1905 by William Anderson's company at the Theatre Royal in Sydney. Oh my God, imagine being there for that. That would have been fabulous. The part of Thunderbolt was played by Lawrence Dunbar. John Gavin played him in the 1910 silent film Thunderbolt. Cecil Holmes made Captain Thunderbolt in 1951 with locations in New England. After distribution difficulties, the premiere was in June 1955 at the Capitol Theatre in Armidale. The Sydney release was on the 8th of September 1955 at the Lyric Theatre, George Street. No complete print of this film is now known, which is a real shame because I'd love to see that. The trailer was uncovered in January 2010 by the National Film and Sound Archive. The film is a focus item in the NFSA's Search for Australia's Lost Films. And that's about the extent of research into Captain Thunderbolt. So even though this was a short video, I hope you enjoyed our little exploration into the dashing Captain Thunderbolt and all of his exploits. And we will be doing another Australian bushranger next week because I'm really enjoying these bushranger stories. I have to say, I think I've mentioned this before, but when you're doing true crime content and you're doing it all the time, some of the stories get very dark and a lot of them do hit you right in the feels. So it's nice to just do something a little bit fun. Like, I know the bushrangers were technically criminals, but, you know, most of them were pretty colourful and pretty fun. And as we know, Captain Thunderbolt didn't really try to hurt anybody. He just took a lot of stuff. But anyway, it's just a nice break for me from doing such dark stories all the time. And it brings me back to fond memories of being a child on my grandmother's lap and having her tell me all about Ned Kelly and Captain Thunderbolt and Ben Hall and some of the others. And you hear a lot of it with the bush balladeers too, poems and things about these people. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's one of the things that I love most about being an Australian is our bushrangers. They're quite unique, and it's just a really great part of our history, as criminal as it was. So I'd like to thank you all again so much for tuning in again this week. I will be going back to the regular programming for Real Crime Down Under shortly, but I just needed a break from all the darkness. So I will be getting back onto more Real Crime Down Under stories that are a little bit more recent, and I have a lot of subjects I'm going to be covering, so please stay tuned for that. Also, please stay tuned for our next paranormal investigation, and I'm hoping it's going to be a biggie. We're on another road trip, but I'm not telling you where. You're going to have to keep watching to find out where we're going if you would like to know. Also, I am releasing a short that's going to be going around on the channel. I would like to do scary stories sent in by you guys, anything scary that's happened to you that you'd like to share. I'd like you to send them to me so that I can read them out in the lead up to Halloween. And then the best and the most scary stories that are sent to me will be read out in a compilation on Halloween night. So if you would love to be involved with that, or you know somebody who would, you can send your scary stories to our Clarence Valley Paranormal email, because that's where I take all my correspondence for YouTube and for Clarence Valley Paranormal. So if you've got a paranormal story, if you've just got a creepy story that you want to share, and you guys, you don't have to be from Australia for these. It can be from anywhere in the world. Just any true scary thing that's happened that you'd like to share. Obviously, anything that's too traumatic, I do not expect people to share that. But if you've just got a really good scary story, or even a campfire story you heard as a kid, I would love to hear it. And I will start off the series towards the end of August with a few scary stories that I was told as a kid that scared the heck out of me, that I think are quite funny these days, but they're actually really scary when I was little. So if you'd love to be involved with that, you can send them to clarencevalleyparanormal@mail.com. I will leave a link in the description box below. And I'm also on Reddit now as Andrea.M. Official or True Crime Angel, and you can send your scary stories to me on Reddit also if you would like to. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, and please do it, because I really want to get into the spirit of spooky season this year. As you know, I already had my own spooky season back in April. Because we've got reverse seasons to the Northern Hemisphere, our actual Samhain night falls on April 30th instead of October 31st. But because I love all things Halloween, I celebrate it twice. So I celebrate it in April, and then I celebrate it again with all of you for the 31st of October, because I love it. I love Halloween. Favorite holiday ever. So if I get to have 2 a year, that's awesome. That's even better than Christmas for me. So if you want to be involved and have some fun with me and send your stories in and hear them read here on the channel, please do so. I would really love to hear from you. So that's it from me today. Please, everybody, stay safe, be happy, be kind to each other, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye.